This is Lifestyle Locker Radio, and you're listening to the best of IMMUNOPALLOOZA. Hi, I'm Dr. Josh Hant, and welcome to Lifestyle Locker Radio, where we help you create an awesome life and lifestyle. From nutrition to fitness, mindfulness to peak performance, and relationships to money mindset, we bring you on an amazing journey to help you unleash your human potential. Hey, we just want to let you know that all of the recordings of IMMUNOPALLOOZA were actually done on Facebook Live. So what we're doing is compiling all of them into one place where you can actually listen to all of them. We've put together our favorite ones, which were voted on by our guests and all the comments that came in. So I hope you enjoy these, and definitely check the show notes because there will eventually be a link for you to actually get all of the videos and have access to them. All right, y'all, enjoy the show. All right, we are live again at IMMUNOPALLOOZA. We have an amazing guest today, Dr. Dan Popeye. And what I'm recognizing and realizing right now, if you're watching this video, my screen has flip-flopped, so it put my name under his and his name under mine. So I apologize about that. I don't know how it happened. It's the first time today. So Dan, welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, you can call me Josh. That's fine. I'm good with it.
All right, there we go. I just flip-flopping it right now. So welcome. So why don't you give the audience, I know a lot of people in our audience will know who you are. A lot won't know who you are. So just give us a little, 2-minute background, and then let's just dump into what is going on and what we're doing.
Yeah, I'm Dr. Dan Popeye. I teach doctors around the world my cellular detox protocols and fasting strategies. That's what I'm known for. I've been doing it for 20 years, so a long way. My story came from pain to purpose. So I got very sick, and that's kind of what put me into this area of, I just, for the lack of a better word, functional medicine, if you will. But traditionally, I was a chiropractor, a structural correction chiropractor, and got very sick, and that's how I ended up here.
Yeah, very cool. So now this whole thing hits this coronavirus hits the world, and people are freaking out. There's a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety. People are actually suppressing their immune systems by doing a lot of the things that they're doing. What are you doing? What are you teaching? What are you seeing?
One of the things you said, and I think right now there's a lot of, media creates the hype and the fear. I mean, that's what they do. It's not even a criticism. This is what they do, right? I mean, they're in competition with the next media source. But I think, what you're seeing is them interviewing experts, and the experts saying, look, if you're healthy, it's really more mild. If you're immune compromised, it can be worse, right? But, so those of us who are healthy, we really have nothing to fear except fear itself. I mean, the chaos is really disturbing. Yeah. However, me and my family have taken a really different view. Of course, we trust in our immune system, so we're not worried about getting the sickness. We're not worried about getting it, except God forbid I become trapped somewhere, right? Yeah. I don't want that by any means, but I'm definitely not worried about getting it. As a matter of fact, I would love to get it because I'd build herd immunity, right? I'd be more set for when this virus returns next season, right? But fact is we're viewing this as an opportune time to really come closer together as a family. And because that was our intention, we're creating it. We've literally been playing board games every night, cards. We were playing 31, last night. It was a blast, right? We're taking walks. I mean, honestly, it's been great. We've been praying together every morning, which typically it's just my wife and I. Your perception's your reality. If you're perceiving this as the world falling apart and online pulling all the conspiracies up, I'm telling you, you're going to become so stressed out, and you're not going to get the benefit of this time right now. And with that said, and there's people hurting that don't have jobs, so my heart bleeds for that, but I think we have to refocus how we look at this whole thing, and ultimately that's going to lead to better health and a better life.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's an interesting perspective. And I think that's really great. I mentioned this earlier, people that are in certain cities that are on like full blown lockdown already, they're actually having dinner parties the way we're actually having a conversation now. So they'll have, they'll open their laptop in front of one set and their friends in, the other part of the city or another part of the country. And they're like, all right, we're having dinner together tonight. Let's have some fun and, make it the best that we can. So I think that's such a great perspective. And
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say you did mention though you're taking this time also to ramp things up immune wise with your
Yeah.
family.
Well, again, I've been doing my own, social media, and one of the things I refuse to do is, take a bad advantage of the situation because people are scared, afraid. Everyone's trying to sell product. I've really avoided that. The one piece of advice I did give, and by the way, I did offer a protocol for the immune compromised, but I wanted them to, confront me directly, and I offered the protocol that I would do. But I'm just not taking advantage in that financial way. But here's the piece I did give. What does your body do when it has a virus? Instinctively, it fasts. That's what it does. That's what happens when you have the flu. Because amazing things happen in fast. And by the way, it's the oldest therapy known to man, and I believe the most effective. So it costs you nothing. You can fast. And fasting is a way to experience something called autophagy, where the body gets rid of bad immune cells and bad cells, period. Then it upregulates new ones via stem cell. And that's exactly what you want to do. You want to tear down and rebuild, but ultimately you're just relying on the body's innate intelligence. And when it gets sick, it gets a virus. Fasting is the most powerful thing you can do. Grandma's old thing was feed a cold and starve of fever.
Feed a cold, starve of fever. I like that. Okay, that's something new to me, but I think that's really makes sense, right? So so here, let's just stay on fasting for a second. You mentioned autophagy. You mentioned it's the best thing that your body will do. Like when you get a flu, right? You're actually burning it off and starving it. What is like 1 day, 2 day, a month? Like what's a fast? Like what's ideal? Do you think for a situation like this, if people, like I want to boost my immune system, or if I have something, like I want to get rid of it?
Most people watching this probably aren't used to fasting, so my kids fast all the time. So 5-day water fast for them is nothing. That's what they're doing. There's a benefit in my book, Beyond Fasting. I talk about how to maximize the results of a fast. And there's magic around 5 days. It's not just a random number. Science shows you get the most autophagy, where your body gets rid of the bad stuff, right? And most stem cell production in a 5-day fast. But even one day a week will boost your immunity. So those of you who aren't used to fasting, you can even do a partial fast where you bring your calories down below 1,000, depending on body size. So bigger people, maybe 800, 1,000, smaller people, 500 to 800. And eat very simply in lower calorie. It's called a partial fast, but it still creates autophagy. Science shows that. And it still gets an upregulation of stem cells, and therefore you get a new immune system. So partial fasting works. I discuss that in my book as well. But, any type of fasting. So even a 1-day fast, I think a week right now. Think about it, though. I mean, right now the opposite is happening, right? People are going to grocery stores, hoarding food. And, my family, we're fasting.
Yeah.
So, we do. We have a very opposite approach here, a very opposite mindset. Instead of focusing on the circumstances and looking at it as a negative, we're choosing intentionally to ask ourselves different questions.
Yeah.
How can we build more faith? How can we become better? How can we become closer? And we're choosing to not focus on the circumstances, but create new ones.
Yeah. So this is neat. So you're fasting, which is, this is great that I'm actually hearing this today, that we're actually fasting to help our bodies during this crisis. And it's so crazy that it is exactly like 180 degrees of everything. The joke was, I shared a social media post that I went to just our local grocery store that has a smaller organic section, and they have a section of like kombuchas and green tea, all of these like good, like healthier drinks. And I walked past like the bread aisle empty, the dairy aisle empty, the junk food aisle empty. There was like the organic produce was like picked over a little bit, but then all the green drinks and everything is like brand new. Like anybody can walk in and get like a year's supply worth of, green drinks. And it just doesn't make any sense.
It really doesn't. It really doesn't. I don't know if you've ever seen Naked and Afraid, right? It's 21 days on an island, and everyone's like, you got to eat. You have to eat. One time I saw an episode of a girl. She was a little tiny girl too. And her theory was, I'm just going to lay in the sun and I'm just fasting for the 21 days and I'm not worried about food. They thought she was nuts. They criticized her.
Really?
No, you're going to die. And she was the only one strong enough at the end to actually row them out. She just fasted. that would be me. I said I would be very boring on that show because 21 days fast, no big deal. My body's used to it. So
Yeah, cool.
yeah,
So
fasting in our house is easy.
when you go through the fast, you guys doing a 5-day fast. What's the we'll just say, since we're in the world of food at the moment, like what's the approach after? What are the things you want to steer towards as far as
Yeah.
food and nutrients? What are the things you want to steer away from? And are there supplements that are highly recommended to help maybe like ramp up that a little bit if you are doing the right things food wise?
Yeah, I mean, when you start a fast, I talk about electrolytes, taking electrolytes for most people. I mean, I can fast without them, but most people, they dump a lot of stored glucose. You lose electrolytes in that process. So sea salt is recommended during the fast. But when you break a fast, it's as important as the fast, because the worst thing you want to do, the last thing you want to do is just go right back to your old eating style, right? This is an opportunity to eat better and cleaner because your taste buds change, your microbiome changes, which changes, the foods that you actually be attracted to. But you also want to break it slow. So for 2 days, we restrict your calories. We come back at maybe 500 to 800 calories, like that partial fast I recommended. And then the next day, maybe 800 to 1,000. So we kind of ramp up the calories. So because your digestive enzymes have dropped down. And then also we want to bring in some fermented foods, some bacteria, because all of your bacteria, good and bad, get starved down. So when we come out of the fast, we want to re-inoculate with good bacteria. So it's an opportunity, again, to help change that microbiome. And you want to gravitate. You don't want to just actually, believe it or not, eat raw vegetables coming out of a fast because it's too hard to digest. Cooked vegetables are a little bit better. Some berries and things like that, avocados, gravitate towards some good oils and things of that sort. But you really want to come out of it gradually and slowly.
Okay. So yeah, starting the fast and finishing the fast are both, I mean, there are important things to do. So we're back into eating. What kind of moving are you guys doing? What other things are you doing that are going to really help ramp up the immune competency in the human body?
Yeah, look, I mean, we exercise all the time. We're doing what we normally do. It sounds a little boring, but I mean, honestly, I guess the difference is I don't have a gym to go to do resistive training. So getting it done outside. I went and did some intervals up the ski slope. I live in Park City, Utah, but my wife and I just did some intervals, walking up the ski slope, and then doing a brief sprint, brief sprint. So getting outside more. I mean, it's again another opportunity to do different things that I'm not used to doing.
Yeah. So I mean, and I had a conversation a little earlier today, and one of the people we're talking about was about compounding the good, and being in the sunshine, being in nature, moving. And getting that vitamin D and getting the exercise at the same time. And, and if you're fasting and doing all of this, you're really just compounding all of the good things to actually boost and boost and boost and boost. And I mean, don't we build more resilience anyway? Because you mentioned pre-call, we're talking about when this virus does come back, because it probably will. When it comes back, I mean, don't we want to be stronger than before anyway? Yeah. So, we get it. Our body will be able to then fight it the way it ideally should. Right.
Yeah, look, I mean, in a perfect world without all the pressure and the hype, we would build herd immunity. What that means is that when about 60% of the population gets exposed, and by the way, that doesn't mean 60% get sick. I mean, one of the problems right now is it's so mild in healthy people. We don't know that most people have this, they barely have symptoms. They may get a runny nose and then that's it, but they're a carrier to somebody who is in fact immune compromised. So I get what our government's doing right now. I mean, avoiding contact, et cetera, will, bring down that curve. I get it. But what some experts fear is that we won't develop enough natural herd immunity, which simply means we get a level of exposure, that's 60%, and now we build immunity. So next year, when this virus comes around again, which it will, or maybe an offshoot of it, well, then if enough people don't have the immunity, then it could be another problem. It could be a bigger problem. So we'll see. I don't know the answer, right? But I know that this is a considerable problem. And I know the UK set out at first to just, take the opposite approach where they were going to expose people to it, not worry. But they got a lot of pressure about that from the World Health Organization and others. But the bottom line is that they've now also moved to this avoidance strategy. Look, I don't know which route. I think the government has to do the best it can. It's doing that. I'm not being critical. I'm just saying that, but there is another side to this coin of this herd immunity. Will enough people get it to, us be stronger, to your point? So we're, more avoidant next year. I don't know.
Yeah. And as far as, so we have food, we have movement. And do you think, and in your research and your studying on human health and longevity, do you notice that, like being around family and loved ones and community in a happy space is also very beneficial?
Yeah, look, we are obviously, we set the intention that, we're not just going to go in our own rooms, and we set the intention to play games, and like, we even reading a book together.
Yeah. Your own book
It's like,
club with the family.
yeah, exactly. So I mean, listen, would we do any of this without this? The answer is no. We were driving down the road the other day. We saw families, like four families we counted, taking a walk in our neighborhood. We never saw that before. So I think this is a great time. I'm viewing it this way. I'm choosing, this to be one of the greatest times we look back to in our family, and we're just relishing this time. Honestly, I know it's opposite. We have zero anxiety. Look, even financially, I'm just not worried. I mean, we're all being affected to some degree, right? We all are.
Yeah.
But God provides. I really believe that. And again, instead of focusing on the circumstances being negative, I'm asking different questions.
Yeah. So. Great. So when people are, they're moving more, they're eating more, they're maybe now fasting, because they're going to, they're hearing this. Are there specific supplements that will help boost immunity more that you recommend?
Yeah, I almost hesitate not to give it. I know people want it, right? But my point is I feel like giving it is creating the hysteria. Meaning, okay. Healthy people. I believe we really don't need anything. I believe our innate intelligence is fine. But I know people want it. And again, when I did a Facebook Live, I said, listen, if you're immune compromised, message me and I will absolutely give back. But I didn't want to add to the hype by reaching out, selling product, this and that.
Yeah.
Just get outside as much as you can, right? Get in the sun. Obviously I'm trying to give you things you should be doing really anyway.
Yes. Well, that's the goal is not about just today or tomorrow or during this condition. We ultimately want people to have their body functioning, on firing on all cylinders. So if there's, like what we're talking about is stuff that people can apply throughout their lifetime, not just during this period. And that's why I'm looking for little tools for people to grasp onto.
Yeah.
So, that's why this conversation is so important.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, and the tools are, I think that all of us are going to come out of here emotionally healthier, spiritually healthier, and physically, if your intention is such, right? So let's switch the question we're asking. Instead of what can I be doing to build my immune system? Let's say, what can I be doing to have greater faith in times like this? There's a story. I'll tell you where I learned that lesson. It was a story. I was in Africa, and I got a beautiful opportunity to speak in this leadership conference with leaders, world leaders from all over Africa and beyond. And the leader in that area, a very powerful man, Pastor Gatsi was his name, very well respected. After the conference, we traveled into the bush to see this tribe that came out of the mountains. And I talk about that in my book, but I didn't talk about this. On the way in, we were going through this very rocky section, and we got a flat. So I was thinking in my mind, there was the spare. Gosh, I hope we don't get another flat. Well, here we are 2 days later coming out of the bush in that same rocky section. I mean, this is barely a road. You have to understand. Mm-hmm. And I'm up out of the Land Cruiser, and all of a sudden, I thought a thought. Uh-oh, I think this is where we got the first flat. If we get a flat again, I'm stranded in the bush. It could be weeks. I mean, who knows? How would I get out of here? And my flight's tomorrow. All these negative thoughts came into my head. Fear. I was overcome with fear, like people today, right? And then no sooner I heard, tss, I said, oh my God. I said to the driver, I think we have a flat. We did. I got out of the truck. I was like frantic, looking at my circumstances of fear, of all the negative possibilities. Pastor Gatsi gets out. Now, this man has been through a lot of adversity in his life, right? So he learned a different pattern than I, far more faithful than I. His response was, I wonder what God has for us here. Opposite. Complete opposite. And then the rest of the story went about 100 yards up the road, there was this mud hut. And we literally went up to this hut, and we were like, hello. This woman came out. Her eyes were like saucers. Yeah. She had just traveled a week to get in and days to get back because she saw to see the man who is now standing in her doorway.
Okay.
She went to see Gatsby, and then here she is seeing him. I mean, she couldn't believe it. Unbelievable. Lo and behold, her good friend, she was into witchcraft, this and that. She goes and gets her friend. We prays over. We're there for 6 hours. All this happens. This woman is delivered from this witchcraft. You wouldn't believe it. I'm telling you, it's almost unbelievable. And then her husband took our tire, used tree sap, and in 6 hours fix a Land Cruiser tire. How did he even get it off the rim is what I want to know. And we ended up driving out of there. And I was just sickened by my response, because he was right. God had a purpose for us there. So again, what did I learn? What does God have? And we should be asking a different question.
Yeah.
Not how we strengthen our immune system, but what does God have in it for me and my family?
Yeah.
And that's what we're doing. So I asked the same question to everyone else.
Yeah. And that's pretty neat. It's really becomes a whole total switch in your thought process. Like, not as what is the worst thing that's going to happen right now during this process, which is what everybody is probably living and breathing through, versus like, what's in this for me? What do I have to learn from this situation?
What do I have to learn? Absolutely.
What do I have to learn?
What does God want to show me? What do I have to learn? What does he have for my family? And again, so this time I'm stepping out of the truck with that attitude, right? I'm not stepping out of the truck focused on my fear. No way.
Yeah. And I mean, I want to thank you though, because you're me doing this and making that phone call, I think, to you, or that email actually to your bride, right? To get in touch with you, because you're a hard man to get in touch with. I'm like, I know Dan's going to have something good to say. Like, when I went through all of my people, I'm like, I know he's going to have something good to say, to share. And I had no idea what it was going to be, but I know you're a smart guy, and I trust that you're going to only share things that are going to be useful to people, especially in a time of need. And now it's like flip flop in our head, and even me too. It's like, oh, okay, now we got to see. And I think that question may have jumped into my head, maybe one way or another, 3 or 4 days ago, when I said I have to get smart people that are proactive and natural health in front of a lot of people. Yeah. And that's where this whole little thing came from. And it's we all, even if we may be a speck of dust on this planet, in a big scheme of things, we all can make these subtle big changes. And
I agree.
And so good. So I like this. This is really good. So we have perspective would be number one, and mindset. Right. Then we have
perspective shift,
right? The shift. We have the shift. We have fasting, which would be a great thing to do, which is something that your body is innately designed to do, which is phenomenal, which I may take you up on that offer starting tomorrow morning, even though I do intermittent fast or intermittent fast, which I learned from you, the first conversation, which I've been doing now for probably 4 years. What do we say? So get outside in nature, change things up. What are the opportunities that are different now than before? And was there another thing that we said?
Oh, the family, man. I mean, just coming with the family, right? I mean, intentionally start playing games, intentionally start doing things you would never do without this opportunity. This is an opportunity, and you have to view it that way for it to become one.
Yeah, no, I think that's really great. And I'm just thinking, I'm laughing right now that I'm thinking about this. When I went inside for dinner just before our call, my wife is a speech pathologist, so she works in a school, a lot of other teachers, and she's very close with many of these teachers. So they had a happy hour via Zoom, since they're all over the place online. And there was like 5 of these girls, and she's walking around the house with her computer, putting it down and cooking. I'm like, well, there you go. There's there's good in the world. People are happy, even though they can't be with each other right this very second. They're making do and having a good time and not complaining about it, which is
you're going to have 2 groups as always. You're going to have the group who's left more sick and anxious because they created it. Yep. And you're going to have a group that ends up happier and healthier. You choose. That would be what I would say. Yep. And here's something. When you look at 3%ers, what I call it, these are people who change the world. Okay. These are people who get over cancer. These are people who, whatever it is, they change the world, make it. When they interview these people, it always comes down to the same thing. When they ask the question, okay, so what was it that they say, I just made a choice. It always comes down to, I just made a decision. I just made a choice, and so what it really turns out to be a 3%er and be the happy group, be the group that ends up healthier. It's a choice. It's a choice. Just choose it. choose that this is going to be good for you, or you end up a 97% or over here, stressed out, worse off. Choose to be a 3%.
Choose to be a 3%. I think that's the message for the night right now. That's powerful. So, but I want to ask you this, because I want people to. You mentioned a book, fasting. Your fasting book. What is it called?
Yeah, Beyond Fasting.
No. I know you are fasting. What's your book called?
Beyond Fasting.
Beyond Fasting. I thought you said I am fasting. I'm like, I know you're fasting. Yeah. Beyond Fasting. So they can get that on. Where can they get it? Where can people get it?
Yeah, right now. So we haven't actually technically released it, but those who are listening can get it. You can go to beyondfastingbook.com and actually get it right now.
Okay. Yeah. I know people are, this is going to pique their mind. I want to make sure people are going to do things the right way. Yeah. And then understand that there are modified ways as well. So, that's just, I want to give people the resource, right? That's an educational resource right there, which is fantastic. So everybody, I want to thank everybody for paying attention, for listening. Dan, thank you so much for being on. I appreciate you, your family, for what you guys do for natural healthcare around the world. And I know, I'm sure we'll see big things from you again and again and again and again. And I'm working on becoming that 3%, just like you.
Man, so 3%er, choose it.
Yeah. All right, Dan. Thank you.
3%er. Yeah. You are a 3%er.
Thank you so much. And everybody, we got tomorrow. Dan's the last one for this evening. And we may end up adding Saturday. People keep calling and wanting to be on this list of people that are going to share. So we'll see how much I can do. But we may end up doing Saturday as well. So Dan, thank you again. All right, y'all.
All right, man. Thanks.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed that episode of IMMUNOPALOOZA today here on Lifestyle Locker Radio. Make sure you scroll down, check out our guests' information, connect with them. Also, make sure you do head over to Lifestyle Locker Radio and click the tab that says book, and you can get a free ebook called Inside the Locker. It's my gift to you. Also, if you're enjoying what you're hearing, you know what you can do. The best thing, and I'm just going to ask, is head over to iTunes and give us that great 5-star review. Only if you want to do it, of course. We would greatly appreciate it. Our guests would appreciate it because it helps us connect to more people like you. So wherever and whenever you're listening to this, have a great day, evening, or night, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.